Hello, this is Robert, and in this video I would like to discuss how we can ask the user for some words or sentences or some other information that we might like to have. So for example, in this program I have three strings set up, one for somebody's first name, one for a last name, and then I also have one for full name. Notice that I have included another library right here, #include string. That gives me access to the string data type. And so strings are collections of characters. So I have three string variables right there. Right now I'm only using first name because I want to illustrate how extraction works. So those two angled brackets that go to the right are extraction, and then the angled brackets that go to the left, those are called insertion. So I have a prompt here for somebody to tell me their name, and then I take input on the variable first name, and then I'm going to say, "Nice to meet you, first name." And then, okay, so we don't need this statement anymore. Then we have the system pause line and then return 0, and the program will be done. So let's run it and see what we get. Well, the way extraction works, so cin first name, extraction stops when we hit white space. So if I type my full name, Robert Martin, then there's white space in between the T and the M right there. So extraction will stop after the word Robert, and it will save Martin for further input. There is no further input in this program, so the word Martin will be thrown away. So if I type return now, I can see that only Robert was stored in fname. There's no limit to the amount of white space that will be ignored either before or after the cin extraction. So I could type as many spaces as I want, as many return characters as I want, and as many tab characters as I want. So those are the three characters that are white space: the spacebar, the tab, and the return character. When I finally get around to typing my name, then it will just store those characters. Okay, so extraction ignores white space characters. Okay, so if we would like to have both my first name and my last name, I could do extraction on both of those variables. So I can say cin first name, then extract lname right there. So now both parts of my name will be stored. My first name will be stored in fname, and my last name will be stored in lname. In order to see the output of my last name, I need to add a couple more insertion marks and then a space, and then just because I would like to have a space between my first and last name, and then I would put lname right there. Okay, so if we run this now, it will now ask for my first name, and then it will stop on white space, and then it will start recording my last name. So I'll go ahead and start typing my first name, and then I'm going to type a whole bunch of white space characters. So Robert, and then there's a bunch of spaces, here's a bunch of returns, and then here's a bunch of tabs, and then I'll type my last name, and only then will it be stored in lname. Okay, so nice to meet you, Robert Martin. All of that white space was ignored by the extraction operator right there. Okay, so that's how we can do multiple word input if we want to. We can just set up multiple variables here. There's another option that we can use, and that is a different way of taking input that will read up until the user types a return key or an enter key. And in order to do that kind of input, we need a function. And what a function is it takes arguments and gives us back a particular value. So the function that we want to use is called getline. And when I type the open parenthesis right there, Visual Studio pops up the different versions of getline that are available. So right now it's kind of a little cryptic, but it's bold right there. The part that's bold right there lets me know that it needs to have an I stream. And the input stream that I want to read from is cin. Okay, then I'm going to type a comma, and then the next thing it says is to give it a string. So I'm going to give it full name right there. So what getline will do is it will take input from cin, which is the keyboard, and it will place all of those characters inside of the variable full name until I type enter on my keyboard. Okay, so now instead of first name and last name here, I want to have full name. All right, so let's run this program, and I'll give it my middle initial this time. So we'll have a couple of white space characters. Okay, so my full name is Robert J. Martin. And then I'm going to type the enter key on my keyboard, and all of that information that I typed on the command line right there will be placed inside of the variable full name. Okay, so nice to meet you, Robert J. Martin. Okay, so those are the two ways that you can do input from the keyboard using the string data type. You have to load this library if you want to have access to strings. Okay, thanks.